Hi everyone, welcome back to the channel. Brendan here, aka Cliff Jumper. We're turning our attention back to the Corrado today, and one of the more typical but annoying problems, the sunroof has decided it no longer wants to respond. Now, Corrado sunroofs are notorious for going wrong in a variety of ways. I'm going to get into one which is hopefully a quick fix, maybe something that we can even do right now. If not, a short junkyard trip should fix it. So follow along as we deal with this. As I mentioned, my sunroof is stuck in the up position. And what can typically happen with the metal roof sunroof, Corrado sunroof, which is the typical one, it comes stock with it, the internal workings that are inside here, all the little fiddly bits, are made out of a very cheap pop metal, and they go bad, they break, and then it gets stuck. That is not what has taken place here, and I can tell you, I know that for a fact because I have witnessed my sunroof behavior over the last couple of weeks start to get iffy, and here's what's going on with it. The motor is inside here underneath this control panel. It is the same motor for the 93 on up, the facelift models, same motor as in the B4 Passat and the Mark III Golf and Jetta. So you can even swap out the entire control surface here for the Passat, Golf, and Jetta. The Corrado came with a very specifically weird one that has this switch that lets you tilt it up and down, and then you push and pull to make the roof go back and forth up here as it would. Now what I've been noticing is my switch itself is working. I can measure the working stuff that's happening, but what has been happening is I'll click it and it'll work sometimes and sometimes not. And when it works just fine, very smooth, goes up and down. I do keep everything cleaned and lubed, and I know it works. My moonroof is from a B4 generation Passat, so it's the glass moonroof. The parts inside it are superior to the ones that came stock in the Corrado, which broke all the time. So I've had this one for a very long time. It works great, but the motors themselves tend to develop issues, just like any other electrical motor. I use mine a lot, so the brushes wear out or they get gunked up and the brushes don't slide inside the motor assembly like they're supposed to. So I'm going to pop off this panel and we're going to look at the motor, pop it out, see if we can do a clean and reinstall and see if we can breathe some new life into it. If cleaning the motor and reinstalling it does not solve the issue, then my next step is I'm going to the junkyard tomorrow to find a Mark III sunroof motor that I will plunk into that after cleaning and preparing that one as well, and that should solve our issues. I may even have one of those motors kicking around somewhere in one of my Corrado storage boxes because I do hoard parts, so that's entirely possible. We'll come back and find out. I may have one already, but let's dive into this. So to get rid of this thing and get it off, this pops out, and you probably use a spudger tool, but really you can just pull it out. Ignore this messiness here. I've previously done some repairs, and I've covered it with some, well, questionable techniques, but yeah, there were some circuitry repairs, and I wanted to keep my original part. So it's messy right now, but that's not part of the issue here. Now we have the plugs as well. I'm going to leave this all plugged in, or maybe I'll unplug it and then replug it, but this just can pop out. Probably you need both hands to do it. Then to get rid of this and get it out of the way, there are two screws. So you undo those two screws up inside here, and then it folds down from the front and then slides backwards off of the edge of the sunroof aperture here. So we'll do that. So squeeze the tabs, push in a little bit, and then wiggle, and the connector comes out. Same with this one, squeeze the tabs, push in, and then wiggle out, and that releases. I'll probably do a little bit more Repair, I think I've lost my bulb in here as well, so be popping off the plastic lens, replacing the bulb, and we'll just kind of go through everything and make sure that it is in good working order. But in the meantime, the 2 screws are pretty easy to see once you have that out of the way. I have previously done some repairs to this panel, so some stuff is a little fiddly in here. I also have my Valentine one.
Here's what I found.
What the heck? Stop. I also have my Valentine one radar detector wired into power up in here, if I recall. I may be wrong about that. I might have it wired all the way down into the dash with the remote, but I might have it plugged into the sunroof controls. That is something that I often would do on such an install. All right, so I have now released that. I'm going to push backwards. It slides out and out of the way. There we go. Here you see a better view of the these things, and you can see how they're broken right there, and I have installed some metal tabs in their place to restore function to these. They get very, very brittle, they break. I will mention that if you need one of these, James at Spoonfed Tuning makes these carbon fiber in both the early version of the Corrado and the later facelift like this. Mine is a hybrid. Mine has it's a 93, early 93, and I've got the old sunroof switch in mine, which doesn't connect to anything. It's just here. It's kind of ridiculous. It's like a vestigial organ. It's still there, but I've got the newer sunroof switch with the push and pull click, which actually operates the sunroof. So, you know, maybe at some point I'll wire my ejector seat to this button that doesn't do anything. Who knows? Anyway, let's look at the motor here. So here we have the sunroof motor. We've got a connector here, same kind of squeeze the tabs on the ends, push in, and then pull back, and it should release and do some wiggling. I might need both my hands for this yet again. There we go. 2 hands. Now here is one key part to the process. There is an Allen tool included. This is for emergency closing of your sunroof. And there is a convenient arrow marked where you insert your tool. We've got this wonderful arrow that covers the panel that you need to put the tool into, and then you can manually retract the roof and close it. You can open it. So I'm going to get it to its fully neutral shut position, which is not there. I've passed it. You want it to be in the neutral position before you put a new motor, and that is according to the Bentley. And there is a little bit of an alignment issue that you want to pay attention to. So there. That should be it. All right. And now I'm going to take off the motor. Should be 3 screws right there, and right up in the front there. There's 3 Phillips head screws that hold this thing in place. So we will take those off. The motor comes off, and then we can lube it, clean it, check it out. My mistake, there are only 2 screws, not 3. So there, 2 screws, and there we go. That is the fancy mechanism here. And we're gonna take a peek at how it operates freed from the assembly. Okay, so inside this connector there, if you can see real well in there, it's kind of gross. It's not in great shape. We're going to spray some contact cleaner down in there, deox it, and on this one as well, and even like, you know, where the bulbs hook up to. So we're just going to make sure that that's clean. Do the same thing on the contacts here. Make sure that they're nice and clean. And in the car, I'm also going to spray this stuff on the wiring connectors themselves. Yeah, I can feel stuff clicking inside this, but no motion. So it is definitely a problem with the motor. So let me go check my parts hoard and see if I happen to have one of these kicking around. As it turns out, I have not one but two spare motors here. Now notice there's some significant size difference here between the Corrado one and the Mark III/B4 Passat one, but the important bits where it bolts up right there, those are all the same. And the electronics where it plugs in are all the same. So let's plug this one in and see how it works. By the way, this is the difference. Here's the Corrado switch with this push and pull. Here is the Mark III and B4 Passat. It's got a different thing, so you can see, like, it's just got one close button, and that close button works the same for any position, whether it's tilt or slide. But you've got a button for tilt and you've got a button for slide, versus this where it's click back and forth for tilt and push back and forth for slide. So just an interesting thing there. All right. Let's see. New motor, or newer motor, certainly doesn't have 200,000 miles on it. Let's see if we have some life here. Aha! Look at that. All right, great. I found that my Mark III sunroof motor works just great, and I have another spare, so maybe in 100,000 miles, if I have to swap it again, I can. But I'm going to put all this back together the way it ought to be, and then we'll have all the functioning things. So thanks for tuning in. I hope this was helpful for you if you do have a Corrado with a sunroof that seems to be finicky. It's intermittent. It works sometimes and sometimes not. You haven't heard any loud cracking noises, but yeah, we didn't have any structural failure up here, just an electronic issue. So it's just really 4 screws total, and you can swap out the motor. You can pick up those motors for about 10 bucks at the junkyard. Out of any Mark III that has a sunroof, any B4 Passat that has a sunroof, all of them will swap into your 93 plus facelift Corrado. If you have an earlier Corrado, you can use the motor out of a B3 Passat. That will bolt in. It's got 4 wires instead of 5. It works differently, but it'll all work. So God bless. See you next time. Bye-bye. I always want to remember to thank you. Say thank you for watching. I know that you've got a lot of different choices where it comes to what you watch on YouTube. So thank you for choosing my channel. Please hit like, subscribe, maybe even go crazy, I tell you, and hit that notification bell, because it does something. I mean, it lets you know when I've got a new video posted, but you should know by now I've got a new video every Friday afternoon. So that's a thing. But thank you for subscribing. I appreciate it so much, and I'll keep the Corrado content coming along with all the other stuff that we're doing. Thanks.
And on that terrible disappointment, it's time to say goodbye. We'll be back.